Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm Elisa. I'm going to do several decks here today. That's kind of what I've picked out. But yeah, I'm leaving on a trip today, so I don't even know if I'm going to have time to post this before I leave, but it might be a process. We'll see. But yeah, the last reading that I did, I was just like, it kind of, I feel like there's like this big ripple that's happening in the collective consciousness. And yeah, like the last reading that I did was like about, you know, it ended up being a lot about like Ukraine and what's going on over there. But I feel like that's like a reflection of this huge ripple that's happening. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like right when I said that, this is the card that came out, Potential, and it's like this exploding volcano. There is a reading called Explosions in the Sky, which I'll link here, that I did like a couple weeks ago, and it's kind of funny because I was like talking about this big climax that was coming, and it ended up being called Explosions in the Sky, and like, you know, little did I know what was going to happen like in the world, like at the time that I did that reading. But yeah, like I said, for sure there's like huge ripples happening right now in the collective consciousness, and it's wild times. Okay, I'm just gonna pick like, oh my gosh. Okay, so at the bottom of this deck, Wonders. This one's been coming out a lot. Like, I can't remember which reading. It's come out in a couple readings lately, so I'll try to link one of them up here. But it's like, you know, there's this crystal, and it's talking about how just around the corner, there's like gonna be this huge breakthrough it's like you can't see it yet, but it's like it's just around the corner. Like it's in the energy, but it's not happening yet. But there is this like great potential that's about to be released, and it's just like it's like bubbling up into this new beginning. The thing about this new beginning that we have to remember is that, like, you know, don't take it for granted. Like, we have to have diligence because it's going to have to require work. It's interesting how there's this bird, because I've mentioned this several times, but the birds are like always like super meaningful for me. But those are like also messages. So like, I think that it's like messages from the other side. So I think it's like we need to be diligent about paying attention to those messages, and also like following through on the sort of like indications that we get, because that's what's going to lead us to this whatever it is that's right around the corner. That's really great. So I think this is actually a really good reading. Oh my gosh. So when I split the deck, I got Giveaway and Magic. So that's like kind of like, this is a card of karma, and like what you put out is what you get back, and this is a card of like miracles and magic. So yeah, I think this is a card of like, I mean, this is a time of like reckoning. If you've been putting good stuff into the world, like that's what's going to come back to you. And then, you know, at the same time as all of that, like if you've been putting bad stuff out in the world, like that's going to come back to you too. Yeah, I mean, there's all this stuff about Russia, and like, I mean, what's going on over there is just, it's crazy. It's just like unbelievable. But I think also like I was talking about this in an earlier reading, just like a reflection of just sort of like what people have managed to get away with in the world, you know, in the past. And it's just sort of like this collective consciousness has shifted, and like that old playbook doesn't work anymore. It's just like people weren't paying attention because they were so distracted by all the crazy overcommitments and just, you know, chaos, that like nobody's had the will to like fight back in a way, you know. But like now everyone's gotten spiritual from the pandemic, and the entire consciousness has shifted. And so now all of a sudden it's just like this profound outrage, and like people have already been through the ringer, so they're just sort of like, we're not going to take it anymore. Like the people in Ukraine, it's just like, we're going to dig in, and you're going to have to deal with that. I got this again at the bottom, which is interesting because this has happened in the last 2 readings. So I think this is a really strong message to like follow your intuition and pay attention to that guidance, and to be diligent, because that it's going to lead you somewhere really powerful if you're tapped into that channel. If you're tapped into the channel of like ego and like what's always worked, and like you know, I mean, like Vladimir Putin, for example, like he's gotten away with all this stuff and it's always worked. And so he's just like dialing it up, you know. He's like doubling down on on being Dr. Evil, you know. And but suddenly like the world's reaction to the stuff that he's been doing forever like has completely changed. And so he doesn't even get that it's happening, you know. He's just doubling down because that's what he does, you know. But what he doesn't see is like the ripples that are happening around the world that's like changing everything. So we got standstill, witness. This is really interesting. I mean, this is kind of confirming what I just said, actually. The Rainmaker and the Earth Keepers. So, I mean, basically what this is saying is it's not a time for action. Like, it's a time to be tapped in and to be led. So, like, take the time to do that. Because if you're tuned into that channel, you're going to witness this unfolding that's, like, beyond anything you could possibly have cobbled together on your own. You're going to, like, witness, like, true power unfolding and manifesting. The Rainmaker is a card of manifestation. Like, whatever it is that you've been trying to manifest in the world with your thoughts, like, it's starting to come to fruition. Like, this person has the support of the universe behind them, and whatever it is that they're trying to create is going to grow if you're in alignment with the highest good of the world, the earth. If you're part of like being the change that's going to be positive for the world, then your plans are going to bear fruit, and you're going to be supported, and you're going to be part of creating this new world order that's emerging. There was a reading about that. But if you're not tuned into this channel, if you're not listening, if you're not diligent, then this new beginning and all this potential, it might not be for you. Like, if you've totally doubled down on the path of like accumulation and ego and like trying to get your way, and it's always worked before, what's behind door number 3 or whatever, I think there might be a reading about that I can link up here too, actually might be not what you're expecting. It actually might be a surprise, and it actually might be really bad news, because something like huge ripples have happened in the collective consciousness, and now suddenly the people who usually got the shaft, like those are the people who are going to come out on top in this new era. Okay, oh my gosh. Okay, so at the bottom we got the Four of Cups. So like, I think what I'm getting from this card right here is like, hold your vision, your cup of love. I mean, there's all this stuff being offered, but like, stay diligent to the one that's coming from your heart, from your intuition, because that's the one that's going to lead to the miracles right around the corner that you aren't expecting. We've got this wounded warrior here who's like kind of discouraged because there's all this crazy stuff going on. There's this war and people like bombing and just like trying to get their way, you know. But don't lose sight of the forest for the trees, even if you're in the weeds, because there's a breakthrough that's about to happen. So like, this is an important time to like push through, keep going. And then we got the Spirit of Cups. So this is like the King of Cups in the traditional deck, but look what she's like pulling out of this cup of love. Like something magical is coming out of that, you know. And then we have the Ace of Swords. It's like truth and clarity. So like I said, you know, like all these people who've like doubled down on whatever Dr. Evil's plans, it's like there's going to be this like line drawn in the sand. And I feel like I did a reading about that too, a line drawn in the sand from a while ago. And it was crazy because when I did that reading, it was like right before January 6th happened. Like I literally did it hours before. And I was like, there's this line being drawn in the sand. And like nobody really accepted the truth of that. And there's been all this chaos about it ever since. But like, it's almost like there's this reckoning that's about to happen. Like the line got drawn in the sand a long time ago. But the truth is about to be exposed. And justice is going to be served. So whatever you've been holding out for, like, stand your ground, stay true, because the truth is going to come out, you know. So just stay in alignment with that, because that's ultimately what's going to lead you to this, to witness this great unfolding, if you've been tuned into this channel. So stay tuned.